Hi guys, it's Tomek from Q Workshop and there is Asha on the other side of the screen, and today on our channel we have a great guest, the dice collector Kevin Cook, owner of enormous dice collection, and hopefully he will tell us something about the collection. I have tons of questions which I'm gonna ask within next few minutes, and hopefully you'll enjoy the answers. Hello Kevin.
Hello, Tomek.
Hi. All right, we'll start from a little bit of history, like general things, and then we go to details, and we'll see how it goes. So basically, let's talk about dice, because we'll talk about dice today. Actually, it's a great opportunity for me because we have a lot of guests on our channel, and we always talk about games and related things, and dice is also always something like a little bit, less. And then today we'll just talk all dice. And so first of all, dice. Some people say that dice are nothing special. It's just like a plastic thing that you roll to play something. And I don't agree, and I guess you don't agree as well. So the question is how these normal, ordinary, and nothing special things ignited such a passion for collecting in you. And when did that happen? How did that happen?
I started collecting dice back when I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 1977.
All right.
I just saw these, amazing shapes that I'd never seen before. Because up until then, all anyone had ever seen were just cubic D6s.
Right. And so when did you think, okay, I'll just collect those? Like, okay, I have 1, I have 2, I have 5, 10, 20. And when you thought that, okay, I have 100 of them, maybe I'll have 1,000, or maybe I'll just collect them and I'll have all of them. When did that happen, and how did that happen? Like, how this thought?
It happened a couple of times. The first time was when I was in my freshman year in college, and I decided that I wanted to add it significantly to my collection. So I went around and went to gaming stores, because there were only 2 back then, and I bought what I could there, and then I would search pawn shops for dice, and I would go down there and, at one store, there was a shoebox full of D6s. The only thing really remarkable about that shoebox was there were a number of bone dice in there. The rest of it, most of the dice had crystallized, so that means that they were made of celluloid nitrate and had done what Ricky Jay's book says had rotted. And you could squeeze them and they would turn to powder. The next point was when I met the founder of the Dice Maniacs Club, and he told me that I had more dice than he did, and at that time he had, I didn't even know this was a thing, the Guinness National Record for most number of dice in England or the UK. And he said, I have more than he does, so it's entirely possible I had the world record. And that's when I started recording everything, putting it in my database, and this allowed me to submit the request for the world record.
Yeah, well, we will talk about the world record because that's awesome, and that's something that interests me a lot, how this whole thing's happened and everything. So we will talk about it in a few minutes. But I just wanted, because you have a lot of dice, obviously, and they have many different shapes, and there's like many different themes and everything. But what do you think? What is so special in dice, besides these things, that make people collect them and be like kind of crazy about them? Because I started with saying that some people say dice are just an ordinary plastic thing. But there's another part of people that thinks totally opposite things, that they're awesome and they're beautiful. But what do you think? Why? Why are they so excited and passionate about dice? What's in dice that makes them, collect them, for example?
Well, let's back up a little bit there, because when you say that, people think that it's just very ordinary little pieces of plastic, you are not wrong. So, even I feel that a lot of dice are just common pieces of plastic, and I just don't understand how people can pay so much money for something that's just a little piece of plastic. For instance, there are certain casino dice from Las Vegas and so forth that are called reserve dice, and they'll sell for $1,000 a pair. It's just kind of nutsy. But why people? Back to your first question. Why do people like dice? Why do they admire dice? It's because there is so much versatility. For instance, I have a buddy that was in my gaming group for a number of years that only collected blue dice. And so he would come to my website and look up the blue dice and look at the newest ones and see if he wanted to add it to his collection. There are people out there that will collect, say, only dragon dice, and I don't mean the SFR game dragon dice. I mean dice with dragons on them. So the new Dracopolis dice from Cube Workshop, the Dragon Heart dice from Dragon Heart, things like that. There is something for everyone in dice collecting if you are of a collecting mentality. Many gamers are not. They have their one set of dice, maybe two sets of dice, and they consider it their lucky set or unlucky set if they're game mastering. And so there is a niche that anybody can find something that they like about dice. Even if you want to collect ducky dice, with ducks inside them. There are a number of those out there.
Yes, true. I agree, basically. I think that this, the thing that you can choose whatever you like and just collect these or just appreciate these, it's awesome. And I also tend to think about dice as kind of art. Of course, not all of them, but basically I think that there are a lot of dice that we can call them pieces of art, basically. So maybe that's also the reason. Because I know that people will wait for that topic, and people have been asking about it. How large is your collection?
Yeah, as of yesterday, it was 117,142, and I have a few more to add in the next day or so.
Wow, that's just mind blowing. That's something that's, is it like, I don't know if you know, is there anyone in the world that comes close to you? Do you know?
I don't think there is. The people that I know that are very avid collectors, even the latest one has dropped off on collecting for the past few years, maybe because of COVID. I'm not sure. But I don't believe there's anybody who has even half as many as I do. Michael Schaefer has about 40,000, and I believe Joe Barbercheck has about 50,000.
I don't know anyone either, so I think that you were right. But also, I was always, because when I have an opportunity to ask you, I'll ask you all the questions that I always wanted to ask you. So, people will forgive me that I'm asking my personal questions, but maybe they'll be interesting for them as well. So my question is there a system? Is there any, do you just collect everything what's released? Or do you already, after so many years of collecting, do you already came up with a kind of the system that you'll only collect one of each kind, or that you'll have this or that, or is there any, order behind the collecting? Is there any system that helps you to, keep things in order?
For quite a while, I collected everything new that I could get my hands on. But we are in the golden age of dice production now because there's so many people that are hand making their own dice at home using the epoxy resin and pressure pot method. They're making their own molds. So I can't begin to even collect one of each kind. It used to be if there was for instance, the Dracopolis dice, there's the greater size and the lesser size, and there's 9 colors or something like that. I make a point of collecting all of the Q Workshop dice that I can get, but when it comes to everyone else, I have to limit myself because of budget. There are people who are charging $50 a set for dice that are just plastic dice, and I won't even consider those anymore because I can, for the same price, I can get 100 or so dice.
But also, besides storing dice, you have the website where you record them, you make pictures, and you measure them. How does this process look like, and how much time does it take to actually make it work?
Now that I have been forcibly retired, it takes a lot more time because I put a lot more effort into taking the good pictures and formatting them correctly. If you go back to, I have archives back to, let's see, back to January of 2003. If you take a look, my pictures are very rough from then, and compare them to the current. As to the database, I think I pretty much give as much information as I can in the database itself. I have a limited number of characters that I can place in there. As to time, on average, it was taking 8 to 10 hours per week to add the data to the database, take the pictures, format the pictures. Posting them on the website is, it's the last thing, and it only takes a few moments.
Yeah, but it's a great job. Like when I go to your website, I'm always amazed how many dice you've recorded and measured and the pictures. So if anyone needs a picture of some certain dice set or dice, he or she will be able to find it on your website. And of course, you'll find the link in the description of this video. So if you're interested in, just go there and you'll have tons of dice to look through. Okay, so tell me, how many dice find their way to your collection every year?
Well, I've actually got a page for that because I am a retired database engineer.
All right.
So I do a lot of different reports, and I can provide you with the link that shows the yearly acquisitions. It does vary. The yearly statistics, it goes from, in 2002, I only had 954 dice added that year. In 2019, I had 10,736 added.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Since COVID and since retire, it's significantly lower, but not as low as 900.
Right. Yeah, these numbers are crazy. Still. But how do you store those? Like, how do you store your dice? Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about like the behind the scene. If there is a system that if there is like a description on the box, or how does that look? Maybe if people collect dice, they will also find it helpful.
Most people, to back up a little bit, most people who collect dice want to display them. I could not from early on display them because it's just too many dice. I use these small totes. They're let's see, the 19 or 20 quart, which I think comes out to about 18 liters or something like that. Totes. And I stack these on baking racks because they're very sturdy. They take 250 pounds per shelf, and I can get 3 of these totes per shelf, so that's only about 150 pounds. You can translate that to kilograms if you'd like. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these rolling racks. But that's not counting a lot of loose dice, and some of the larger dice can't be even put into containers.
Right.
But I have a whole house for storing the dice.
Right. But so another question that's related to the previous one. If you have, like, if you think, okay, I want to look at my, I don't know, like Q Workshop forest dice or like some other dice, are you able to find them right away? Like, do you have a system that will tell you, okay, this set is here and there and the other one is somewhere else?
Well, yes and no. Because these 19 quart containers contain, almost 2,000, they can hold up to 2,000 dice. Within each of those containers, I will try to store entire sets. So if I want the forest green with black background, that was a very early on one because back then, let's see, trying to remember what the name was before forest. I can quickly get to the container number because I use the database, and that will tell me which container it's in. To find the die in that container, that becomes a problem because often I have to dump the entire container out. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there will be 40 or 50 little bags, mm-hmm. and in each bag will be like a set or 2 sets. And then I would locate the forest or whatever, and then I could look at it. I don't often do that because I make a point of trying my best to take as accurate photographs of each die, each set, along with a ruler, so that if I end up with a similar set but not exact, I can determine whether it's a duplicate or not. Right. And I avoid duplicates because Guinness does not allow duplicates.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, of course. So you're good as far as the container goes, and then a little problem begins to find the right dice inside the container. Got it. Yeah. But that's still okay, I guess, like considering the numbers. Okay, you started to talk about the word Guinness Record because maybe not everyone knows that you hold the record for the biggest dice collection in the world. So my question is, how does that happen? Like, what do you do to become the world record holder? Is it like you call them and say, hey, I have a lot of dice?
I don't think there is a way to call them. And to be honest, I have emailed them several times, and they never respond. What happens is you have to go to the website, and then if you think you have a world record, you apply for the world record. If it's not a current record, they have to approve it because a lot of things are just, they don't want to have a record for. And if they approve it, then there is a complicated process you have to go through. You either have to pay them to fly to you, and that will be many thousands of dollars. Because you You have to fly them out to you. You have to put them in a hotel. They come out. They look at your collection or witness your event. It's very complicated. And then you have to document everything. And they ask for things like videotapes. And, to be completely honest, I don't think I could video my entire collection because of the fact that it's all over my house in many different places. And then you have to have some sort of spreadsheet or database with your collection. And it has to be an accurate description, and you have to avoid duplicates except in certain cases. For instance, poker dice, you need to have 5 to play the game. And that's pretty much it for what you have to supply them. And then you wait. I think I waited 7 months the first time.
But so was your because you're saying that you would need to document it. Was your website enough for that, or they had to come into your house and actually go one by one and count them all?
No, well, you have Guinness witnesses that come and do that. You can. That was a good point. Instead of paying Guinness to come out and witness it, you can pay, or not pay, but you can have people in the industry that you're trying to break the record for come and visit and witness your collection. Or let's say you were going to try and do the fastest 100-meter dash. You would have somebody who was a past record holder come and witness and do the timing for that. So these people would come and visit, and I have a number of people who are members of one or the other of the dice collecting clubs, and they have, or for instance, I had a dice company owner come visit my collection one time. Botrick of Q Workshop.
Yeah, right. Okay, but how does it look? Do you have to renew it every time, or when you're in the book, you'll be there forever, unless there's someone who'll have more than you have?
That's the way it really works. I have not made an attempt to renew it because of the fact that the collection is growing so quickly. By the time they have granted me an updated version or an updated record, I will have added 10,000 more.
Well, so it's just so you're in the book, and there is the number of dice that you had at that time.
No, I wish there was a way that they would allow you to update it live, because if they just went to my website and clicked on dice search,
exactly,
they would see how many I have entered into the database, and that could be the record. But I don't think they trust people well enough.
I guess so. But still, you hold the world record, and that's awesome, and that's not gonna change anytime soon, I guess. As we said in the beginning of our interview. Awesome, yeah. Okay, let's talk about some other things, because we already said that people use dice to play. Do you play? Do you play tabletop games or RPG games? Are you a gamer or just straight on collecting? And
I have been gaming since 1977. I game a lot less now that I am old, and I wish I could game more. It's just finding the right group that doesn't annoy me is the problem. Gotcha. I was able to play for the first time in probably 10 years last weekend.
Oh, okay. Awesome. What did you play?
Let's see. We played Palladium Fantasy role-playing game.
No, sounds good. Was it fun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you think because of course we talk about dice, do you think dice can add to the fun of playing or to atmosphere of playing, or it doesn't matter?
I'm sure it for me, it doesn't matter, because when I gamed last week, I just had to look around for a random set of dice to take with me to the game.
And was it a problem?
No, because I have a box of duplicates right beside me.
All right.
Duplicates for trade, and I just rooted around in there and found what I was looking for.
All right, but it doesn't matter too much. So you're not like a kind of person that when plays like a warrior will use only dice with swords and like on it. You don't.
Sure.
Care.
No, not at all. I'm
asking you because I do. I care. So.
What I usually would do, and I just can't find them right now, I take my original set of dice that I got, was it 45 years ago?
Right.
And I've got them in a blue drawstring bag somewhere. I just don't remember where.
And you mentioned duplicates. How many you have? How many duplicates do you have?
I have no idea.
Okay, so they're out of the database.
Yeah, they're not in the database.
Yeah.
They're on the website, so people can see what I have for trade, and then they can choose what they would like from there. But I would probably guess 10,000.
That's a lot. That's more than people have. More than most of the collections, I guess. All right. Do you remember your first Q Workshop dice? Like, what was it?
See, that is a good question, and it is part of a problem. Because when I discovered Potrick's website back in 2004, I made a deal with him, and I bought one of everything available at that time. So they all came at the same time in the same box. But as far as the database is concerned, the first die that I show is a red D20 that was the Runic Generation 1.
Awesome. But was it like so I guess 2004 was your, the beginning of your partnership and with Q Workshop? Like this was when it started, like the whole, adventure we had together through those years? Do you remember?
Yep, and it'll be 20 years next year.
Yeah, true. Do you remember when did you meet us in person first time?
I believe it was Gen Con 2006.
Okay, so you ordered everything and they just came. But it was like each of the dice or each of the sets?
Well, I ordered one of everything that Potrick made.
Okay. Yeah. Just I had to make it clear. All right. Yeah. What's your favorite?
One of every die. I don't even think back then you were making dice cups and bags and everything else.
And my next question is, what's your favorite Q Workshop die or dice set or?
Oh wow.
There's been a lot of them, but try.
Yeah. Well, I think probably my favorite is one that was custom made for me. It was a silver D6 with black and red indicia. Q Workshop made it for me, and I didn't even know they were making it.
And what about dice that everyone can buy? Like, what would you say that would be your favorite, or that you could recommend that everyone can should at least check them out?
It changes from month to month because you keep producing such amazing dice.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think the one that if I had to pick one, my favorite is that spherical D100.
The orange one?
Well, it has orange numbers, orange and white.
Yeah.
But the die itself is gray. I think the style was called Tech, but that was discontinued a while back.
All right. Yeah. So the last question about Q Workshop, when you think about Q Workshop, what is your first association to that name?
Ornate. You make the most ornate dice I have ever seen.
All right. I'm satisfied with this answer, I guess, because that's true, and we always wanted to do it. So it's good that it's something that it's not being overlooked. It's yeah, great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I have a couple of suggestions from uh, uh, fans of Q Workshop, um, and you've satisfied a lot of them. The uh, You need to make the numbers bigger because we're getting older and we can't read anymore, and that's why I love the Elven Classic or Elven. What is it? Classic? You just call them. Um, and the Runic Classic is amazing as well. And then also, I got a request from my brother from another mother. Um, he wants to see more ornate dice like the forest, to where they are harder to read.
Yeah. I'm noting, and yeah, but you've I guess in these two sentences you just encapsulated everything about our dice and about dice in general. That some dice are to be easy to read, and the other part is just to appreciate and to have something very nice and ornate and intricate design and everything. We try to combine those two things, but sometimes it's just impossible, so sometimes you just have to choose, and
Oh yes, absolutely.
that's the thing, I guess. All right. I have a few more questions, but yeah, I guess we'll be going towards the end. But a few more questions before we finish. We believe here in Q Workshop, and this is like something that we used to say a lot, that all dice tell a story. Do you have any dice that tell some interesting stories that, I don't know, maybe you find them or somebody gave them to you, or like some interesting stories about how they came to your collection? Or
Oh yes, and there are many stories.
all right.
I have a particular die that I believe I identified years later as a sharp-edged uh, armory D10. I think it was Generation 2 because they didn't have D10s back then. That belonged to a gaming buddy of mine back in college. So this would have been 1981 ish.
Right.
And for some reason, now can you imagine this? It's a D10 that he rolled, and a notable number of times, this D10 landed on the point.
Okay.
And I still have this die. He gave it to me when he found out that I was collecting dice. That's a really interesting.
Does it still work that way, or it broke?
To be completely honest, my luck is so bad. I don't think I could ever get it to stand like that.
Okay.
The other die, or another story that immediately comes to mind is there was a set of dice that, according to New Yorker magazine, was used as a signal by the Axis to indicate the date or time, or date and or time, of the Pearl Harbor attack.
Oh.
And I made a point of, when I found out what these were, I first acquired a set, and then I went back and found all the documentation that went with it. Not the documentation for the game, but the documentation of the fact that they thought that this was a way that the Axis was signaling their allies that the Pearl Harbor attack was going to happen.
That's interesting. I guess we could talk about these like forever, but we don't have so much time. So I have another question for you. Is there, because this is what's interesting to me, is there a point, or like, is there a limit or goal that you're trying to reach, and then you'll say, okay, I'm done? Is there any like in collecting, or there is none?
There's not. You know,
Okay.
I intend to do this until I fall over dead.
Because some people, like some collectors, they just want to collect all sets of one kind and then they're done and then they're okay, that I'm satisfied. But you don't. You're not planning on that. All right.
Nope.
All right. That's fair enough. So what are your plans? What the future brings? What are your plans in terms of your collection? Or are you trying to are you looking for something specific?
Just what I don't already have.
So it doesn't matter what is it. It's interesting for you if it's not on your shelves.
Sure, that's correct.
All right. I have like a follow-up question. Is there any die that other collectors might own that you're jealous about that you don't have? Is there something that you would like to buy out from them, or?
If you had asked me this question 10 or 15 years ago, I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have now gotten to the point where I feel that it's important that other people's collections have things that I don't have, or even better, that nobody else has.
Mm-hmm.
So if I really feel that I need it, I will find out where they acquired the die, and I will go there and get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deprive anyone of some precious die. For instance, I believe it Michael Schaefer had a gold, like a 14 karat gold and diamond die made.
Oh my God. Okay.
You know, if I wanted that, I wouldn't want his. I would want to have my own made.
Mm-hmm. All right. We can finish our today's interview. Thank you so much. You're the first Guinness World Record holder that I'm talking to. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you everyone who watched this video. And just don't forget to go to Kevin's page and check what awesome things he gathered in his collection. Don't forget to subscribe us and to go to our social media and subscribe and watch and observe. And if Kevin has some links that he would like to add, we'll post them in the description of this video. So you'll find everything what might be interesting for you. And for now, I thank you so much, and I'll see you next time on our Q Workshops videos here on the channel. Thank you.